Welcome to a conversation on the Daily Bern. I'm your host, Eric Miller, joined today by an awesome progressive Democrat running in the great state of Wisconsin, Wisconsin's 5th district, to be specific, Mr. Tom Palzewicz. How you doing, Tom?
Thanks, Eric, and thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. That's awesome.
Right on. Cool. I practiced.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin 5th, I'll pull up the district, but it's kind of in between Milwaukee and
Madison.
Madison, yes. I'll pull up.
Yeah, so it's in between the two most liberal areas of the state, and it has been tagged as the most conservative, but it is rapidly changing.
Interesting. Yeah, I want to ask about that. And you're running on a very people-centered campaign, and I'm sure that's resonating, especially on universal health care during the pandemic. But,
Yes.
And I'll get into all that, and I'll get into how terrible the Republican challenger is, as per usual. But they're breaking news as we just went live. They're taking Donald Trump, President Trump, to Walter Reed. Just your reaction, comment on that. Every day this week, it's just escalating crazy news. What's your reaction to that?
Here in Wisconsin, we're having the most number of cases we've ever had. We have actually a lot more people hospitalized and now starting to die. And so we're ramping up as a state. I think we have the third most number of cases in the last 7 days of any state in the country. I think it's only Texas and California that are ahead of us, two very large states. So we're really challenged right now. And my heart goes out to people who get this, because if you have some underlying health conditions, this can potentially be a very serious thing. And, I keep looking around and thinking that if everybody just wears a mask, if we allow contact tracers to do their job, and we don't overwhelm the healthcare system, and we have the ability to have a better economy, and all those things aren't happening. And here now the president, who was seen, basically laughing at Joe Biden the other night for not wearing a mask, now he gets it. And I'm hoping this changes the culture and people just get more serious about wearing masks. It would be a huge benefit.
Yeah. And you support universal health care. But before we get to policy things, speaking of masks, your opponent is, I guess, is in the state Senate and fought against the mask mandate within your state. Is that true?
Yeah, he's the Senate Majority Leader. And when so we ran in 2018, and part of our success in our district helped get us a Democrat in our governor's mansion in 2018. And immediately the Republicans had a lame duck session and stripped him and our attorney general of some power before they even got into office. And then every time our governor's been trying to keep this state safe, not only has our legislature not met, they have gone to our state Supreme Court to try to strike down what he's done. And in fact, they're going on Monday, because our governor just extended our mask mandate for another 60 days at the end of September, and they're going to court on Monday again. And it's beyond me, because not only do they not want to take the reins and take responsibility and do something, they're keeping our governor from doing anything. And they keep saying that local health officials are the best place to handle this, and it's just not true. And there's so many people who are overwhelmed right now. Schools don't know what they're supposed to be doing. They're opening and closing. Restaurants and bars are open, then they're closed. The chaos is unbelievable, and it's caused by a lack of leadership. And it's almost because that partisanship is more important than the people of this state.
Right. Yeah. Now, the reason I tie that, it comes from the top down. Like you said, him laughing literally the day before he's diagnosed about wearing a mask, that sets the tone, and they toe that line. And he's been in direct contact with governors and, state senators and whatnot to toe that line, resist. And it's it's not only the counterintuitive, it's bad politics, it's bad policy, it's harmful.
It's harmful. It's actually killing people.
Yeah. Boy, so that's your opponent. We'll get into other ways that he stinks as well. But I think I discovered your campaign through the No Dems Left Behind.
Oh yeah, great group.
Yeah, which I think is really cool. There are a lot of progressives running in a lot of districts around the country, and some that are deeply red that don't get a lot of party support, right? So they get left behind. So there's the No Dems Left Behind pack, and I'm not sure if it's a pack necessarily, but that's where I discovered. You can talk about that organization a little bit. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, we're I reached out to them. I saw them. I think it was earlier this year, sometime around February, March timeframe. I just saw what they were doing and I thought, wow, this is a really great group. I'd love to get involved with some other people who are running around the country in red districts just to share best practices and see what we can do. And it's been fantastic. I really appreciate the group. There's some good people running. We've got people in Florida and Louisiana and in Maryland and but the bottom line is these are areas that have been traditionally underserved because people just don't want to run. I mean, what's the point? You're going to get clobbered, so why run? And it was something that actually got me moving in 2017. It was really after the 2016 election when President Trump was elected. I'm a believer in servant leadership. I was in the Navy for 6 years. I was on a submarine for 4 years, and it really taught me that leadership is about what you can do to help lift others up, not about what I want or what I can do. And I just saw in our current president that that's just not his style. That's not what he cares about. And there were so many people that it didn't seem to matter. And I thought, well, it mattered. It's one of the most important things when I look at leadership. And it really got me moving. And this district has been red for so long. You've probably heard crucial Waukesha County. That whole idea that Waukesha County is one of those very red districts, that's where Republicans hang out and live. And I said, if a guy like me,
and it's Seminole County in Florida, right? Those are the ones.
Yes, exactly. And I literally said, like, if a guy like me who, I could pass for a Republican, I look like a Republican, if a guy like me can't run in a district like this, I'm a Navy vet. I was in banking for 15 years. I'm in the business community. I'm a small business owner. I help other small business owners grow their business. If a guy like me can't run and push progressive policies forward, who can?
Yeah.
And this district has been traditionally 70-30. Like Jim Sensenbrenner had always won about 70% of the vote. He's run unopposed 5 times. I mean, that to me is not democracy. And, we took a 70-30 district and we took that 40 points and cut it to 24. And the main plan was just to get Democrats to be more loud and proud. It was finding all the Democrats, finding the indivisible groups, the grassroots groups, the Mom to Ban action groups that all sprung up after the 2016 election and getting them to work together and having a more cohesive unit. And then just saying, look, plant a lawn sign, talk to your neighbors, do some things. And it really worked. I mean, we moved the needle a lot, but we still got clobbered, and people were like, hey, Tom, was it worth it? And I said, yes, it was definitely worth it because we got an extra 24,000 votes in our district and our governor won by 38,000. If we wouldn't have done what we did, we wouldn't have a Democrat in the governor's mansion right now.
That's such a great point. Yeah, what a great point. Yeah, I've had a few candidates. I had Cindy Bonnier on yesterday.
Yeah, Cindy's great.
On a few times. I have Mia Mason coming on next week. I think No Dem Left Behind. Go check that out if you haven't already.
Yep.
Let's talk a little bit. You mentioned you're a small business owner. I've heard you talk about universal health care and also Medicaid expansion in Wisconsin. Can you talk about, I guess, Medicaid expansion in Wisconsin, but then also the benefits of a universal health care system from a business owner's perspective, like the freedom that provides for businesses?
Yeah, it was interesting. When I started running, I would run into Democrats who were almost anti-business. And I said, wait a minute, time out. Because I'm what I call a pro-business Democrat, because we need businesses to work and we need them to work well. But I will tell you, I've talked to so many small business owners over the last 15 years, and this is the time of the year that they hate, when they have to start evaluating healthcare plans for their people, if they have a large enough business to be able to pay for it. To look at those plans and then try to decide and then try to figure out how to make sure their employees are taken care of. They hate it because it's not part of their core business. It takes time away from building the business that they're trying to build. And it was funny. I was in a roundtable. I think it was last November. And every single one of these people were complaining. And I knew they were all Republicans. Every single one of them was complaining though. And I said, universal health care is looking pretty good right now, isn't it? And they all laughed. But here's the thing, universal health care, it gives people a path toward entrepreneurship that they might not normally have. Yeah. I think that's an incredibly important thing to understand in this country, that in order to start a business, one of the reasons that keeps people from not starting businesses is just access to affordable health care. If you have any preconceived conditions or anything else, before the Affordable Care Act, it was almost impossible to be able to go off on your own and be able to start a business. That's one thing. To me, the really important thing, though, is the direction we're going from a job and an employment standpoint with automation and job disruption. Those are going to be two incredibly important things that our society is going to have to deal with as we move forward into automation, and people coming in and out of their jobs from moving different companies and everything else. If we're relying on employee-led healthcare, it's going to break down substantially. And we really need universal healthcare to provide that backdrop to make sure people are taken care of when they get disrupted, and then so they can train anxiety free to the next level of job that they want to get to. It just makes total sense in the world. And when you explain that to people who have an inkling of business, they go, "Yeah, that does sound pretty good." And then they always come back to, "Well, how are you going to pay for it?" And these are the same people that love tax cuts and love to run a deficit when times are good. It's like, why do we care about whether to pay for it? Of course, everybody knows the savings are going to come out of the, we average about $10,000 per person in healthcare costs. It's going to be down to $6,000 or $7,000 or maybe lower when we implement and have the universal healthcare plan.
Yep, and those small businesses won't have to include that as part of the benefits package, so they'll be saving the spending right there, right? They can actually,
and it creates a more level playing field between small and big business. It's like, yes, it makes all the sense in the world. It's competitive, but if you've ever been a small business owner dealing with a big business, they're not interested in competition.
Right. Yeah. Great point. I want to pull up the district just a little bit. A lot of districts are gerrymandered in some kooky way. So I like to show them, show a district just so people get a sense of it. Maybe I can zoom in a little bit on that. And also give candidates an opportunity to brag on Wisconsin 5th. What's awesome about it?
Oh, I was in the Navy. When I got out of the Navy, I came back to live in Wisconsin because it is absolutely the best place to be in the summer. It is, it's just unbelievably wonderful. We have so much going on. There's so much to do outdoors and food and, the beer and everything else. It's just a great place to live. And I came back here, and I didn't even realize I came back here to raise a family, but I came back and like 6 months later, I had met my future wife. And, we started a family like 2 years later, and I have 3 grown children, and it couldn't have been a better place to raise a family. It is just absolutely a gem, because you've heard Wisconsin or Midwestern nice. It is just true. Like, even when we disagree, we're usually nice about it. It's like, we're like, did I hurt your feelings? I'm sorry, but I still don't agree. So
nice.
It's just the way we are.
Very cool. And while I'm here, before I get to my next question, here's your website, tomforwi.com, tomforwisconsin.com. Obviously, you do not take corporate PAC money. That's correct, right?
Correct. Yep.
Grassroots funded campaign, people powered, people centered policy. So he needs our help. So donate to Tom here. You can also volunteer, take action. I'm assuming you have phone banking, text banking, etc.
Yep, phones, text. We actually have people out doing door hangers. So we're not canvassing per se, but we've targeted some places we want to get our door hangers up. We're doing postcards. So we've got a lot of different ways. People in the Midwest love writing postcards. We'll get a whole bunch of people, and they'll grab a bunch of postcards, bring them home, fill them out, bring them back. We put a stamp on, send them out. So it's a great way to do voter outreach, especially from a targeted standpoint.
Excellent. So tomforwi.com.
Yep.
Go follow his socials. Go like him. Go share this stream. Go, tell your friends, et cetera, et cetera. Donate if you can. Volunteer if you can. Like he said, he closed the gap in 2018, and there's additional momentum this year. So this is a winnable seat. But Tom needs our help to make it happen, right?
Right.
And you're fighting for the policies we're fighting. You're not going to get into the House and then suddenly start taking checks from Raytheon or Chevron or
No.
Right.
No, because really it is about, and I always go back to this. The Onion ran an article about, I think it is now about 15 years ago, and they said the 310 million Americans hired their own lobbyists to represent themselves in Washington. And it rings so true. It's like, wait a minute, we elect people, but they don't even represent us. They're representing the moneyed interests. So, we have to do that. Gerrymandering, we got to break gerrymandering, but we got to get money out of politics. I'm a big fan of not only campaign finance reform, but campaign reform. We really don't need to have these long drawn out campaigns. They create more divisiveness and we get less done. Campaigns should be no longer than 3 months. There's no reason why we need this incredibly long time to do this. And it just creates this environment like we can't do anything. We're in an election. Well, We're always in an election now. Therefore, we're not getting anything done. And our tagline is progress over partisanship. Let's actually get some things done.
Great. Before the pandemic, your campaign focused more heavily on climate change, obviously, right? That's a huge issue. And just the news has changed, has altered what we, what gets our focus or whatever. But that's a huge issue. And I've heard you talk about ending fossil fuel subsidies, which is a huge thumbs up. What does that look like in your district, and what are some of the big industries? Is dairy an industry in your district?
Dairy's big, manufacturing is big, and we have healthcare. I've never stopped talking about the climate crisis though, because I felt even during this pandemic, like this is still this existential crisis we have. We'll figure out the pandemic. We'll get through it, right? We're smart people. We'll figure it out. But if we don't get working on climate right now, and I mean right now, this election is so incredibly important. President Trump's pulling us out of the Paris Accord on November 4th, whether anybody wants to or not. We got to get back in. We got to get Joe Biden in there to repair our relationships around the world. But we got to start moving fast. I love what Gavin Newsom did. He said, let's get emissions-free autos on every level playing field by 2035. I still think that's a little too late. I think we have 10 years. We really got 10 years to start doing something about this. I'm relying a little bit about technology. I was excited. I read a fusion article today. I think fusion, room temperature superconducting. I think there's some things that are coming that are going to help, but we have got to tackle fossil fuels first, and we got to start ramping up solar. We got to start ramping up wind. Wind is a huge thing here until Scott Walker, our governor, decided we didn't want to do it anymore. And it was actually most of the parts were manufactured in Wisconsin. They were creating great jobs, and those jobs are gone. So, and then our grid, our energy grid has to be more green. And we got to figure out a way to pay people, because right now in Wisconsin, if you produce solar, like if you have a solar panels on your house, you buy retail and you can only sell back wholesale. That's just tremendously wrong in my mind. If you are actually producing power, you should be able to sell it back to the grid at the same prices you can buy it for. So,
right. Yeah. So if you were on the House floor right now, what would you be fighting for? What would your principal push be?
And I was talking to Mark Pocan, who we did a town hall with him the other day, who's he's a representative in Wisconsin 2nd. I said, Mark, as Democrats, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. I'm going to rely on my fellow Congress people to push the ball on healthcare, to push the ball on the economy, and push the ball in the pandemic. And I want to focus on climate, because I think unless we really start actively working on it and putting in some what I would call economic conditions to it, I love the idea of carbon fee and dividend, and I think there's a way to make that process move down the road. But there's thousands of ideas, but we actually have to start acting on them. So that's really the road I want to take. That and finance. I think we need to absolutely overhaul the way we do Wall Street in this country. I think it's absolutely killing Main Street. And if you go to any rural city in America, they've been decimated from a small business and job standpoint by what Wall Street has done, and that just has to end.
Gotcha. So when you say carbon tax, you're also saying a comprehensive approach. So anything, right? So that you're not saying.
Well, let's get going, right? Everybody has the idea of what we should do, and nobody has the total right answer. But just like in business, you know where you want to get to. You just have to start doing something, and you'll course correct as you go. But we have to get going. We have to start. I think step number one is ending fossil fuel subsidies. If we do that and reallocate that money over to solar, now we've got some investments moving forward that actually can help us.
Right on. So on the universal front, universal healthcare front, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Would you sign on to Pramila Jayapal's Medicare for All bill if you were in the House right now?
Right now, yes, I would, because I think it's the right thing to do. The thing I'm leery about is there's about 3.5 million jobs in the health insurance sector that we have to be careful about where those people end up, right? They're going to get disrupted. We know it's going to happen. So let's do it in a way that's humane, because those people, my guess is those people are going to end up in the same administrative type jobs they're already in.
Right.
But let's figure that out. So that would be part of what I would want to see as an amendment to say, look, let's not disrupt these people. They're caught in the middle. Let's just take their efficiency and bring it to the Medicare for All market.
Right on. Yeah, I think she does have some just transition components in there. It's like a 3-year transition or whatever. I think Bernie's was 4, hers is 3, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it's probably going to take longer than that, because because I've been working with businesses for a long time, and changing things, especially like this, takes more time than you'd like. But it doesn't mean we can't start now and get the savings from it, take the profit out, and get going on creating better health outcomes versus profit outcomes.
Right on. One thing I've also heard you say that I don't hear a lot in the gun violence prevention community, you talked about having insurance. I love that. I love that you're talking about that. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, I grew up in Wisconsin in the 70s, and everybody hunted. I mean, it's just what we did, right? So we grab our rifles, we go up in the Northwoods. There's 750,000 people in Wisconsin that go up north to hunt every single year. It's like an army. And so there's a lot of gun owners. There's a lot of responsible gun owners. And most of them would never even dream of taking an AR-15 into the woods because you wouldn't have anything left to eat. Most of them would never dream of having tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition because that wouldn't make any sense. Where would you store it? And frankly, in Wisconsin, if you have to fire more than one shot when you're killing a deer, you're not a very good hunter. Like, you shouldn't get to hunt again. And then, the other part of it, though, is there's the cost to society of owning a gun. And look, I'm a big believer in accountability. And if we're going to talk about accountability, then we should take away to hold people accountable if they want to own weapons. And if they do it recklessly and they hurt somebody, that's why you need insurance. Just like we have insurance in a whole bunch of different places. There's nothing in the Second Amendment that says guns should be cheap. And guns are way too cheap right now. Ammunition's too accessible. We need to carry that cost of what it really is. So when people do buy it, they're carrying that burden.
Right. Yeah, that's actually a Chris Rock joke. He had, guns are cheap. Every bullet should be $5 million. So,
right. Well, I mean, I look at it like Sudafed, right? If you go into a pharmacy to buy Sudafed, they're looking at your license and you can't buy more than 2 because otherwise you're a meth dealer. I mean, it should be the same way. You should never be able to buy tens of thousands of rounds of ammunition. There's no reason in the world that anybody should do that. I'm also a big believer. I was actually an NRA member back in the 70s because I did a lot of marksmanship training. And the NRA today is not the same. And, what I believe is, look, if you love to shoot guns, keep your gun at the range under lock and key, and the ammo should still be at the range. Like, if that's what you love to do, great. You can go do that all day long. Doesn't mean you should keep it in your house.
Right. Right. Yeah. And I think today is the anniversary of the big shooting in Las Vegas.
In Las Vegas. Yep. I think it was yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah. So let's talk about your opponent, Scott Fitzgerald. I didn't do a ton of research other than the fact that he opposed. Like you said, he's the Senate majority leader in your state, and he opposed the mask mandates. How else is he terrible? I assume he's kind of a run-of-the-mill, corporately owned Republican.
No, he's worse than that. I mean, there's a litany of things that he's done that have actually tremendously harmed the state. It started with Act 10. I don't know if you're familiar with Act 10 in Wisconsin, but basically it stripped public unions of the right to bargain and negotiate. And what happened is Scott Walker, our governor, along with Scott Fitzgerald and Robin Vos, convinced the people of Wisconsin that the recession was due to teachers making too much money. And so they somehow convinced a whole bunch of people that teachers are bad. People were booing teachers. People were sending hate mail to teachers in this state, all because of the way they wanted to pass this, because they knew that by stripping teachers of the ability to unionize, it would take away one of the main funding elements of the Democratic Party. So this was a completely partisan play to do this. And then they followed up with, they drew the maps for Wisconsin for the Assembly and State Senate. They drew them in private in a secret room across from the Capitol, and you actually had to sign a non-disclosure agreement to get in the room. And here's what they had to say about being in the room. They said, whatever you hear us say in public, discount it. Listen to what we tell you in this room.
Right.
And then they brought these maps out. They gave a couple of days for the entire state to be able to digest them, and then they had a vote. And what they did, and they predicted this, they predicted that Democrats would never win more than a third of the assembly seats again, no matter how many votes they would get in the state. And it's come true. And right now, I think Democrats won close to 56% of the vote in 2018, and we still only got about a third of the seats in the assembly.
Right.
And those are just two things. And then if you keep marching forward, Scott Fitzgerald has done things that benefit Scott Fitzgerald, not benefit the people of Wisconsin. And, somebody told me a long time ago, they said, this guy doesn't even deserve a raise, let alone a promotion. And that's what he's asking the people of Wisconsin to do, is give him a promotion. He's not interested in governing. He's not interested in using the powers of government for good. He's interested in winning and holding the other party down. And here we are, October 2nd. The attack ads have started to come out from him, but he's going to throw the kitchen sink at us because he knows that we're closing in. And, the phrase they've hit on for some bizarre reason is we are liberal, radical liberals. Like, I think if you say liberal twice, it's twice as bad or something. I don't get it, but that's what they're doing. And, but they're also fanning the flames that if you elect a Democrat, there will be protesters with guns at your door.
Right. Yeah.
And we're talking about the white suburbs of Wisconsin in this district, and they are using every single scare tactic that they can to try to change that dynamic.
That's ugly. Yeah, that's happening nationally. And how about are there voter suppression type of shenanigans happening?
Oh, constantly. I mean, I could go on and on. It's voter ID. It's taking away polling places. It's right now they're in court to fight the fact that the federal judge has given Wisconsin an extra 5 or 6 days to count the ballots, when all they have to do is sign on to legislation to allow those ballots to be counted when they're received by the clerks. So not only are they not doing that, which would solve everything, like we would have the results on November 3rd if they did that, they're fighting in federal court to overturn this ruling that says that clerks can keep counting after the election.
Right.
So they're trying to narrow it down, and then they're not giving anybody any more money. And, so there's this continuous erosion. And I haven't heard this for sure, but just like Pennsylvania, there are rumors that they've been talking about what are the things they can do after the election to make sure it's thrown into a different way versus the voters, and I don't think that's happening here, but these two guys, Robin Vos and Scott Fitzgerald, have been so focused on holding on to power. They literally said, when our Democratic governor was elected, they said, we can't trust him, so we're going to pull back the reins on him.
Right. That's insane.
And it's like, he won 1.3 million votes in this state, and these guys won, 30,000 and 15,000. And yet they can wield more power than somebody that got 1.3 million votes.
That's terrible. Yeah. You have a feeling that they'll use that if they need that, right? So how does that resonate when, again, it's a deeply red district, when you're talking to constituents, that is a clear, obstruction of democracy, right? And it doesn't take, you don't have to be hyper partisan to see that or whatever. So when you talk to constituents and you lay it out like that, logically, rationally, in your red district, do they get it? Like, do they understand like what these guys are up to?
Well, the starting point is that's why we're starting to move the needle, because more and more people are becoming aware of this. But if you're a Trump voter, you're not going to get swayed. And right now, Trump in our district still has a 50% plus approval rating, and that's as of about 3 weeks ago. I don't know where it is today, but we know that that's being chipped away at on a daily basis. And so we're sending out, and our whole target right now is women, because we feel that there's a lot of women in this district. Their husbands have been watching Fox News nonstop, and they just want it to end. Like, they just want this divisiveness. They want the bickering to end because they care about their kids and their grandkids. And that's the angle we're taking. It's like, wait a minute. Your kids and grandkids are going to live with the climate we're leaving them. Your kids and grandkids are going to have to figure out healthcare if we don't figure it out now. Your kids and grandkids are going to have to continue to go to school and do these active shooter drills that are leaving them in a state of anxiety with a level of PTSD. It's insane what we're doing, and I think women are waking up a lot faster, at least in the suburbs and at least where we are. And we've seen tremendous movements. Our last poll showed us down 10. So we started off down 40. and we're now down 10. And I feel very confident that in this last month, we'll be able to chip away and actually win this seat. And I think they're starting to realize that too.
Great. I hope you're right from your lips to God's ears. If you paid attention to that debate, if you sat through that debate the other day,
I did.
I heard somebody point out that, Joe Biden was trying to talk to us, the people, right? Whereas Donald Trump was just talking about himself the whole time, right? Or attacking, right? So, hopefully, like you said, it's drawn, if you're just to have a media diet of Fox News and Breitbart or whatever, hopefully if they watch that, they pick that up at least subconsciously. Like he's looking at
it was painful to watch, but I think the bigger thing is the strategy to try to throw him off because he stutters is absolutely unbelievable when you think about it we're supposed to be talking about policy. I'm a huge believer, and this is one of the things I say all the time. I'm a huge believer that people should be elected on their ideas and reelected on results. And if you don't have a situation where that's even possible, that's not democracy.
Right.
And what we have right now is not, at least the way I would think about how we would run our country by democracy.
Yeah, you're here. Well, again, it's Tom for Wisconsin, tomforwi.com. Please make a donation, volunteer. Is there anybody else on your slate in your district that you want to make mention of?
Oh, yeah, we've got some great assembly candidates. We've got Emily Segrist, who's running for the second time in the 24th district. We have Robin Vining, who flipped the seat last time, and she is absolutely under assault, so she's in the 13th. We got Sarah Rodriguez, who's running in the 14th. We have Jessica Katzenmeyer, who's running in the 15th. We have Melissa Winker in the 38th. We have Abby Lowry in the 37th. We got Mason Becker in the 33rd. We have Aaron Perry in the 97th. We have Neil Plotkin running in the state Senate race, state Senate 8. We're working with all these candidates because we know every time we coordinate and collaborate, because we're all going after the exact same people that we need to shift over. And I think we're going to win probably 2 to 3, maybe 4 assembly seats in this 5th congressional district, even in the face of this horrendously gerrymandered district. So very excited by all those races. Obviously, we're working with whatever we can in the Biden campaign. But I will tell you right now, based on our internal polling, we've already moved about 55,000 votes in our district. Yeah. And Trump only won the state by 23,000. So we feel very confident right now that unless all these people suddenly change their minds, Joe Biden's already won the state of Wisconsin.
Amazing. Awesome. So let's make that win even bigger. Let's help Tom flip this seat, right? So,
well, I'd love to go serve with them, and the other argument we make is like, I'm going to be in the majority. I'll have a chance to get things done for the people of the 5th. If Scott Fitzgerald's elected, he'll be in the minority. He won't be able to actually do anything. So put somebody who's in the majority there.
Yeah. Plus he's just terrible anyway. You don't want him to get anything done anyway. So tomforwi.com, go donate, go volunteer, share this video, like his socials, right? Go to No Dems Left Behind. There's a lot of other candidates.
A lot of great candidates and No Dem Left Behind. Yes.
Yeah, here. Well, I hope to talk to you again soon and call you Representative Palzewicz. I probably butchered it the second time, but
no, you hit it right on the head. Perfect.
Right on, sir. Yeah. Godspeed. Good luck on November 3rd. It's been a treat to chat with you. Like I say, I hope to talk to you on the other side, and we can keep fighting this fight and go flip that seat in Wisconsin, my friend.
Yeah, we have to for not only us, but for our kids and our grandkids. So absolutely imperative right now.
Here. Thank you, sir.
All right. Appreciate it, Eric. Thanks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.